Hello guys, good morning. You are welcome to my YouTube channel, the Explicit Tutorials. So in our previous class we discussed gastrulation, and in today's class we're discussing neurulation. Now the word neurulation is from the term neurula, like neurula. Now neurula is a stage, right? Neurula is a stage in the development of what? An embryo. It is a stage in the development of an embryo. Now, in a neurula, you also have what is called neural plates. The neural plate of a neurula is what forms the brain and spinal cord of an animal. I repeat, I said neurula is a stage in the development of what? An embryo. I said that the neural plates of a neurula is what forms what? The brain and what? Spinal cord. Now, in the neurula as well, you have what is called neural tube. The neural, oh, am I using this? You have what is called the neural tube. The neural tube is actually called a precursor of what? Central nervous system. So please, neurula or neurulation, okay, also takes part during what? Gastrulation, which means that neurulation and gastrulation, that is, occur like side by side, okay? So, gastrulation is a multi-layered embryo, okay, which is formed from blastula, which is what? A single layered embryo. So, what is the meaning of neurulation? Neurulation in a nutshell means what? The formation of a neurula. I said that the neurula is the stage in the development of an embryo. I said that the neurula has the neural plates, which develops into what? The brain and what? Spinal cord. I said that the neural tube of the neurula is called what? The precursor of central nervous system. All right, central nervous system. Of course, that the brain and the spinal cord are the constituent of what? The central nervous system. Now, neurulation means what? The formation of the neurula, or I can say that neurulation is a process whereby the notochord, mesoderm, and central nervous system are formed. Neurulation is a phenomenon characterized by the formation of the notochord, mesoderm, and what? Central nervous system. I can also say that it is the formation of the neurula, which is a stage that occurs in the development of what? An embryo. So a neurula has the neural plates, it has the central nervous system, it has the mesoderm, it has the notochord. So these are the constituents of what? The neurula. Neurulation is the process that involves the formation of the notochord, mesoderm, and what? Central nervous system. Now, all of these three entities mentioned here, the formation of the central nervous system is much the same in all chordates. Alright, the formation of the central nervous system during neurulation is the same in all chordates. It is the same in all chordates, lower chordate or higher chordates, whichever chordate, it is the same. It follows the same process. But the formation of notochord and mesoderm varies from species to species. So which means that there are certain organisms, before the notochord is formed, it follows a different particular process. So you have the mesoderm to be the same case, okay? So the formation of notochord and mesoderm varies from species to species. But the formation of the central nervous system is the same in all chordates, So please, before I proceed, let me use an illustration. Don't forget what a neurula is. I said a neurula is a stage in the development of an embryo, all right? And it has the neural plate which develops into the brain and what? Spinal cord. And of course, there are different functions of the spinal cord as well as what? The brain. Okay, now let's diagrammatically illustrate something, okay? I have something like this. I don't know if this... Okay, I have this. So this is what this part is called what? The neural what? Fold. All right, here is the neural groove. Okay, the neural groove. All right, neural groove. Now this arm-like structure is called mesodermal plate or tube, as the case may be. Then this middle structure, okay, let me call it pouch, rather, pouch. Then this middle one here is called notochord. Now, since we've been able to bring out illustration, now what are the different terms associated with this diagram here? That this diagram is a neurula. It is not a complete what? Neurula. Now, you can see that first and first, the pouch, all right, the pouch that is just by the side of the notochord, the pouch by the side of the notochord, you call it what? Mesodermal pouch. You see, you have this, the notochord region. This arm is called what? The mesodermal pouch. Now, between the mesodermal pouch, all right, there's a cavity. This cavity is made up of what? Fluid. It's a fluid-filled body cavity. You call it what? Silo. All right, you call it what? Silo. So which means that the pouch that develops, all right, at the upper part of the anteron, okay, you call it what? It gives rise to the mesodermal pouch, or they call it definitive what? Mesoderm. All right, and this definitive mesoderm, you have a cavity. The cavity of this pouch formed is called what? Body. That is fluid filled body cavity called what? Silo. Good. Now, between the pouches, between these two pouches, you have the notochord. All right. So between the two pouches, of the acantharon lies the notochord. Now this notochord that is just between the mesodermal pouch, right, persists. It persists in adult amphibians, all right, but amphibians and maybe other chordates, okay. So please, the notochord is found between the two pouches, and you have it to persist in adult amphibians and what? Other chordates. However, in higher chordates, this notochord is being replaced by what is called what? Backbone. Backbone, otherwise called what? Vertebral column. And this vertebral column, called the backbones, all right, each backbone is separated by what is called intervertebral disc. The notochord, which is found between the two pouches, persists, all right, it is found in adult amphibians, okay, and even amphiusus. Amphiusus has what? Notochord. That's why I said other vertebrates. But in higher vertebrates like man, we don't have notochord. We have what? Backbone, called what? Vertebral column. Each vertebral column is separated from one another, or you call it what? Successive backbone or successive vertebrae is separated. That one is called what? Intervertebral what? Disc. So please take note of that. Now, some of the other parts of the anteron, that is the rest of other parts of the anteron wall, all right, forms what is called what? Endodermal lining. Form what? Endoderm, lining what? The gut. First thing first, you say the pouches, the structure between the two pouches, that is the mesodermal pouches, is called what? Notochord. And notochord persists in what? Adult amphibians and other vertebrates like the amphiusus, and it's being replaced later by what is called what? Backbone, that is vertebral column. Now I said the cavity of the pouches. The cavity of the pouches is made up of what? Fluid. And this fluid is called what? This body cavity is called what? Column. And this column is made up of what? Fluid. Alright? Column, we call it what? Body cavity. Now, there is the rest parts of the acheron. The rest parts of the acheron wall. I told us in our previous class that the acantharon is produced when the vertebral pole of the blastula invaginates. All right, so when the other parts of the acantharon will form what? The endoderma, on the dermal region lining the gut. As soon as this endoderma region or area is formed, what happens? I think I don't know if I can rub off this one now. Let me rub off this one. The pouch, the structure between the two pouches, which are the mesodermal pouches, all right, you call it what? Notochord. And I said they persist in amphibians and other vertebrates, but these notochords are not present in man, so they are being replaced by backbone. Okay, and I said that the cavity of the pouch is called what? Body cavity, called column, and that it is made up of what? Fluid or liquid. Take note of that. And I said the rest part of the acantharon wall gives rise to what? The endodermal region, and lining what? The gut. It lines the gut or the digestive tract. Now this gut produced so far, what happens? It grows forward. This is a word. It grows forward and closes up to it closes up and comes into contact all right, it comes into contact with the ectoderm. This ectoderm, a region called stomodium. Stomodium is like a depression in the body cavity that gives rise to the mouth. Now, this stomodium is found on the ventral surface. It's found on the ventral surface of the blastula. So I said neurulation is the formation of what? Notochord, mesoderm, and what? Central nervous system. And I said that neurula is a stage in the development of what? An embryo. It has the neural place which gives rise to the brain and spinal cord, and it has the neural tube called the precursor of what? The central nervous system. Now, I told us that the notochord is actually central nervous system, which is CNS, is produced in the same way in all chordates. But the notochord and mesoderm they are produced variably in different organisms. Okay, and I said using a diagram which is not a full diagram of what? Neurula. And I said that the pouch that is just holding the notochord in position is what? The mesoderm. And the mesoderm has a cavity called what? Coelom. That is symbol of what? Fluid. The notochord, I said, persists in amphibian and other chordates like the amphiusis or the branchiostoma. But in man, like we are vertebrates, we have backbone, and we do not have notochord. All right, we have backbone, and this backbone, otherwise they are called what? Vertebral column. Now I said the rest parts of the acantherine wall gives rise to what? The endodermal region lining the guts. Now this endodermal region, what happens? It grows forward and closes up. What happens? It comes in contact. In other words, it interacts with the ectoderm. A region in the ectoderm called stomodium. I said stomodium is a depression, all right, in the body cavity that actually gives rise to the mouth and is found on the ventral surface of what? The blastula. Take note of that. It is very important. Now, this as now it grows forward, all right. Now the end product, all right, it forms the oral plate, which means as long as it grows forward, by the interaction with the ectoderm, it produces what is called what? Oral plate. Now this oral plate, all right, this oral plate passes through, or the oral plate forms the mouth. It forms the mouth by passing through the guts. It grows forward. Please just calm down. It grows forward and closes up and comes in contact with the ectoderm, a region called stomodium, on the ventral surface of the blastula, forming what? The oral plates. Now the oral plates forms the mouth, and this mouth opens into the gut. It opens into the gut. So this is just the process of what? Neurulation. That reminds me, we are not done. The formation of mesoderm, I said, varies from species to species. Now, in amphibians, mesoderm is formed at the early stage. Mesoderm is formed at what? The early stage. How is it formed? It is formed when the cells are migrated. They are migrated into the blastoconic space. All right. So the cells of the amphibian during neurulation, that is in the formation of the mesoderm, they will migrate or they will invaginate into the blastocoil, which is what, the body cavity, into the what, blastoconic space. This blastoconic space, all right, extends posteriorly from the blastopore. What did I tell you? What is the function of the blastopore? I said the blastopore is that part of the organism of the gastrula that forms the mouth and anus. Mouth, you call it what? Protostomes. So please, let me take it again. The endodermal layer is formed. Now this layer grows forward, closes up and interacts with the ectoderm, a region called stomodium, on the ventral surface, not the dorsal surface of the blastula. What does it? It forms the oral plate. The oral plate, on the other hand, forms the mouth, and this mouth opens into the guts. Then after which, what will now happen? I said that during the formation of the mesoderm in amphibians, the cells, they will invaginate or they will migrate inward into the blastoconic space. You know, this blastoconic space is made up of what? Fluid. Posteriorly, like downwards, that is from the bottom of the blastula, which is called what? Blastopore. The blastopore forms what? Anus. But in birds, there is a mesoderm, is not formed like that. In birds, the mesoderm interacts on each side of the blastula. All right. In birds, the mesoderm interacts in each side of the invagination, called primitive streak. Good. In amphibians, mesoderm is formed when the cells are being invaginated into the blastoconic space, that is, which extend from the posterior parts of the blastopore. That is all about amphibians. But in birds, that is apes, the mesoderm interacts on each side of the blastula or invagination. This invagination is called what? Primitive streak. It's called a primitive streak. Take note of that. What about the coelom? What did I tell you about the coelom? Coelom, that is C-O-E-L-O-M. I told you that the coelom is actually a body cavity surrounded by the mesoderm. Now, the mesoderm, which surrounds the body cavity, like the fluid-filled cavity, which is the coelom, and this is surrounded by it. And what now happens after that? See, this mesoderm which surrounds the coelom. How is this coelom produced? Please, in amphiozus or branchiostoma, please, it is a colon. All right, it is a colon that produces the colon is produced from the archenteron. Yeah. So please, in the colon, which is surrounded by the mesoderm, all right, is derived from the archenteron in amphiozus. All right, so at this point, to call it a day on, please let me give you the structure of a neurula according to the lecturer. The structure of a neurula. All right, neurula has a structure. Okay, it's a funny structure. It's a funny structure, I don't know, but that is how it is. I'm not good over, so I'll be good to draw my own. Let me give you what is being drawn on the material. Okay. All right. So this very part is called the neural tube. The neural tube. Now this part, okay, it's a double structure rather. It's doubled. All right. So this very one is called the silo or the column. All right. Now this is a notochord. Notochord. Right. This is a notochord, and here is what the gut tube. The gut tube, and here you have it to be what? The mesoderm. So this is what? A typical structure of the neurula. Typical structure of what? The neurula. Don't forget how the mesoderm is formed in different organisms. I said the mesoderm is formed in the early stage of what? The amphibian, and is produced when the cells migrates or invaginates into the blastoconic space, which extends from the posterior region of the blastopore. All right, then I said that in birds, the mesoderm, they interact with the two parts of the blastula, or they interact with the invagination produced. And this invagination is called what? Primitive streak. Take note of that. Then I start column. Mesoderm surround the column. In Amphiozoos, the column is derived from the archenterum. So, in case it comes out, like, write extensively on the term neurulation. Write extensively on the term neurulation. You have to use these diagrams to explain your point. It is very, very important. At this point, we call it a day. Thanks for watching. Please endeavor to subscribe.